All right, thank you so much for joining me here for the middle of July real estate market report that we got going on here, not only for the national news, but also for the news that's happening here in the Chicagoland area, specifically here in the Aurora area. Wow, what a week has it been here, especially when it comes to the severe weather. We've had multiple tornadoes hit the area just in the last several days here, and the storm of the real estate inventory that is still plaguing us is still plaguing us. So I'm going to talk about that as well here with the national news as well as local news and let you know what the inventory levels are. And in this episode here, I'm going to just touch briefly on what the interest rates are right now, talk a little bit about strategies and what to do as far as if you are a buyer in this real estate market, how to put in offers, how to navigate the low inventory that we have here. I'm also going to talk about what special strategies that us as realtors can employ when we are putting in offers for your properties that you want to purchase. The other thing we're going to cover real quick here in this meeting is the monthly numbers, the monthly statistics for the area, not just in Aurora here, not only in Naperville, but also in the whole Chicagoland area. So without further ado, go ahead and subscribe to this channel if you like this kind of content that I'll be bringing up to you on a weekly basis here, talking about the real estate market, not just, like I said, locally here, but also general in the nationwide span of things, you could say, okay? So again, this is Luis Torres, Luis the Broker. You know me here on social media and I'm here to bring you the real estate information, fresh and whatever is relevant at the moment, and talk about modern strategies. And I will be also looking into just articles that are here local that talk about specific things that the buyer and the seller in today's market is concerned about. We could talk about a wide range of things in the real estate world as far as what contracts are, what laws are in regards to real estate and other antiquated topics, which are not really antiquated, but that's not really forefront in the market and how that's going to help you navigate this. But I will bring up topics that are relevant and issues that come up on a weekly basis, and we dive deep into those kind of things. So without further ado, let's get into the news for the day. So basically for the day, I should say for the week. The week has been the story as it's been the whole year. As a matter of fact, if you look here on your screen, the right-hand side, the top right-hand side here, you'll see what is Mortgage News Daily Rate Index. Now, as of Friday, today being Sunday the 16th of July, on Friday the 14th of July, the 30-year fixed rate is at 6.89%. Now, if you look here when my mouse is hovering, you see this little yellow bar. This represents the entire span of the 52 weeks, the last year, right? And this little black line represents where we are currently. So the highest point, if you could see here, has been 7.37 for the year. And the lowest it has been in the last 52 weeks is 5.05%. Currently, again, we're at 6.89, so that's what the little black bar here represents, the current state of where we are for the 30-year fixed rate. Now, that is when it comes to those folks that have really good credit. Those folks are going to be able to secure something around 6.89. However, if your credit score is, below what we consider, to be good credit, excellent credit, then you will not see 6.89. You'll probably see something higher than that, but every case is different. Speak to your local lender if you need one. Obviously, I know a couple that can help you out with that, and we could go from there. But just giving you a heads up what the interest rates are looking like at the moment. They are up there, there are 6.89. The vast majority of people that have mortgages at the moment have below 6%. So you can see why the stalling of the market is still continuing on. The reluctance of sellers to start to, list their homes in the market. They don't want to do it because the interest rates of today are more challenging to get to. A lot of folks even have, bought homes back when they were 2%, 3%, during the pandemic, those levels, and they are just basically, in a sense, stuck in their homes. Maybe they want to sell. Maybe they want to get rid of that property, but those interest rates are just too juicy to give up. As far as 6.8%, 7%, 7.1%, 4% goes, unless you're like that one person I spoke with 2 weeks ago, she was mad that I said that the interest rates are high right now. She said, "What are you talking about? These are not high interest rates." She said, "No, I remember when they were 14%. 7% is nothing." I said, "Ma'am, don't get offended. It is what it is. Most people have this recency bias, and they remember when rates were 2 to 3%. That's why they say 6%, 7% is high. Obviously, I didn't want to offend her and make her angry with me. She still hung up the phone. But, the fact of the matter is, most folks do see that this is high, and that's why they're not wanting to sell their homes. Now, if you are finding yourself in the market right now with this just torrential downpours outside, if you find yourself out there, hopefully you have a strong umbrella, right? A strong mindset about this, and you're able to navigate the market, okay? Because that is exactly what folks are finding out here. Elevated mortgage rates, I wrote here in my notes, continue to eat away at the purchasing power. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and show you what I found here in the Redfin market report for the week. Redfin has here a chart that you can find here in this week's this week's report that they put out here. How much home can you afford? In other words, your purchasing power. That is, how much power do you have when it comes to buying a house or buying anything in general? But we're here talking about real estate. So to show you, let's say that, for example, a couple years ago, 2021, you had a budget set that you said, what, I want to put in $2,000 a month to my mortgage. Okay, so let's find out. If you, let's say the green line here, if you can see here where my mouse is hovering, let me go ahead and highlight the mouse. Let me enable that real quick and show you what I'm talking about. All right, do you see that line? Okay, that red circle represents my mouse. A little bit lag, but we will put up with it. All right, so take a look at this green line right here, right? This is if you wanted $2,000 to pay for your mortgage. Well, let's say exactly 2 years ago today, right, 2021, rates were around 2.8. You say, how do you know that? Because that's when I purchased my home 2 years ago exactly this month. So in 2021, now that it's 2023, I was saying, hey, let's say someone had a budget of $2,000 a month. Well, if you had that, you could afford $421,500 home if you had this kind of budget. Notwithstanding all the other expenses, if you have homeowners insurance and other things, then those will elevate to the monthly payment, right? Maybe your home could go for less. But let's just say, for all intents and purposes, that was the budget that you can afford, $421,500. How much has the purchasing power decreased from just 2 years ago? Well, keep in mind, it was $421,500, right? Now let's go to where today's levels are, which is 6.8. 6.8 finds you here around this part. So instead of $421,000, you can only afford $300,000 home if you had a $2,000 payment. So in just 2 years, you could not purchase. You just lost $120,000 in purchasing power just because you waited 2 years. You could have afforded a $421,000 house, but now you could barely afford to get a $300,000 house with that kind of budget in today's terms. So that's why, yes, the interest rates being as high as it is now, it's a big burden for buyers nowadays. It's tough for them to, stomach that. But you know what? The reality is, guys, that ain't going nowhere. That number is not going to drop it anytime soon. Some folks are optimistic. There's hope. This past week we did see the inflation report unexpectedly better results than it did before. The Fed is talking about how, they are seeing the results in a positive way. All of their increase in interest rates is starting to cool down the inflation that is going on nowadays. So folks out there are hopeful that, hey, maybe there'll just be one more increase in the Fed funds rate this year, which will secondarily affect the mortgage interest rates. And that's pretty much it. So some folks out there are saying that there might only be one increase this year, and maybe that'll show later on in this year some lower interest rates. But we don't see those rates going down to 6% or even 5% this year. What I've seen even earlier this year, as you can see right here, if you go ahead and look at the right side of my screen, the last 52 weeks, 1 year ago, the lowest point we did see is 5%. And I'm telling you, by experience, because I'm a real estate agent, I speak to people every single day, every single week. When I saw the 5% interest rates, man, people were going crazy. It was a lot more activity. Even in the months that you really don't see a lot of activity, there was a lot of activity going on when the interest rates hit that 5%. But when it's 6%, things get really, really quiet around here. And 6.89, hey, only the tough guys are out here, really dealing and willing and all this other stuff here, okay? So what do you do, basically? What do you do when there is a shortage of inventory and you still have to go out there and buy a house? You have to buy a house because everybody has to pay somebody something. If you're an adult and you're having to live somewhere else, if you're not living with your parents, but you still got to pay or living with family, you still have to pay somebody something. You're still paying somebody's mortgage. If you're renting, call it rent, but you're really just paying your landlord's mortgage payment, right? So oftentimes, hey, people just say, you know what, I'm tired of paying my landlord's mortgage. I want to pay my own mortgage and build equity myself. So you're out there, you're going to stomach the interest rates as they are now, 6.8, 6.9, 7%. You're okay with that? You're willing to stomach it? You've waited long enough. You don't want to wait another 2 to 3 years for interest rates to drop. I'm not saying exactly that's what's going to happen, but that's my hunch at the moment. So people are like, you know what? I'm not going to wait 2 to 3 more years to buy a house. Look, I'm just going to stomach it, buy it as it is, maybe refinance when rates get better. Okay? So folks are out there getting out into the world. And how do you manage this? So I did some research, right? Like we always want to do, researching some relevant topics. And I went to the good old Google, and I searched up some website, and I skimmed through this to see, really what I can learn and be able to teach my audience a little bit here about this. Now, I'm not going to read this verbatim, obviously, but I do want to at least touch on some of the great highlights that, I found here. How to navigate a low inventory market. Now, obviously, hopefully, you find yourself a real estate agent that is able to navigate you with this market the way it is. But at the same time, if you're watching this and you're trying to get some strategies, let me share with you some of the things that I learned and found out and already knew about before. Buying a home in a low inventory market is a stressful experience, it says here. Strategies are being employed, right? Obviously, if you're going to try to do this by yourself, I don't recommend you do it, not only because I'm a real estate agent, but you really want to know how to navigate, because once you put an offer out there, a lot of things move very quickly, and you can be trampled upon very quickly by those who know what they're doing, etc., right? You don't want to be caught off guard and maybe lose out on the house that you really want. So you want to have an experienced agent out there that is helping you to find and make the best offers possible. And not only that, but also share with you strategies that they have employed and been successful in executing that will help them get these offers accepted, right? So there's strategies such as all cash offers. Yes, there are folks out there that are putting in all cash offers. If you find yourself in an inventory that is very low, and most inventories are very low. In fact, as a matter of fact, later on in this video, I will show you the monthly inventory report, right? That shows the levels of inventory for the particular area that we are going to be specifying in. Obviously, Aurora, Illinois, Chicago, Illinois, the west suburbs, etc. But in this kind of market, doing an all-cash offer really helps the offer stand out. What other things can happen? Well, there's something called an escalation clause. All right, let me really quickly go to another website here. I went to the website that offered the most information about what is an escalation clause, because I asked Google, hey, Google, let's find out more about escalation clause so I can teach my folks here who are watching this video what it means. Now, obviously, I'm a real estate agent. I know what an escalation clause is. I've used it before, but I want to be able to see if there's any newer information out there, any more relevant information that my folks who are watching this, my followers, whoever is watching this video can see and learn from. What's an escalation clause? Well, an escalation clause, see if I could get this light going on. There we go. Is in real estate may be necessary for getting the home of your dreams. Basically, it's a way of you saying to the seller, right, that you are very serious about buying this home that I am willing to put above whatever offer comes in. So let's say that you offer on a home, and we're going to see an example here in this website too, but let's say a home was listed for $200,000. All right, that's kind of low for this market, right? But let's just say $200,000, and then you say, you know what, I like this house. I'm going to put in an offer of $210,000. On top of that, I will also put an addendum adding to this offer the fact that if anyone offers above my 210, I will beat their price by $5,000. But it's got to be a bona fide, genuine, offer from somebody. It cannot just be a made-up offer that the listing agent just, pulls out of thin air. No. Okay, that's what an escalation clause is. Now, you would think, oh man, that's pretty cool, that you're going to just beat out every single offer, and that could give the buyer who's making that clause more peace of mind. But there are pros and cons to this. I mean, in a perfect world, hey, you know what? Doesn't the seller want the highest and best money? Of course they do. But there are tricky things about an escalation clause. But let's get into this. In real estate, what is an escalation clause? It says it's something in the contract, an addendum, right? An escalator clause, right? That states that a buyer is willing to raise their offer on a home should the seller receive a higher offer price, right? Offer buyers protection. This escalation clause offers buyers protection if other buyers potentially outbid them. Okay, and usually they come with a specific limit, a specific amount that they would go up. They were not, unless they're willing to pay $1 million for the home, right? There's got to be a certain point where they say, you know what, I will not exceed this part. Okay, so what are the main components of this addendum clause? Originally, you could just put here the original purchase price, right? You say, hey, this is my offer. How much will I escalate? Let's say 2,000 above, 3,000 above, 5, 10,000 above. Okay, just got to specify that there. And then if you're making an escalation clause, you just put in the maximum price that you would not go above, right? You would go above a certain amount, but that's it. Like, that's the limit. I'm not going to go past 340. So if you say that, and here's an escalation clause example right here. It says here, suppose a buyer submits an offer of 300,000, and they say, you know what, I'm going to offer to beat out any offer that comes in by 5,000. So now suddenly someone puts in an offer of, what does it say here? 305,000. Therefore, now your offer becomes a 310 because they offered 305 and you said, I'll bump it up 5,000. So now you automatically bumped it up 310. If someone offers 310, right, or 311, then 316 would be the offer at that point. But if your max is 315, then you just got outbid, right? So, that's what it just means, that if you have an addendum, an escalation clause addendum in the contract, just be aware of that. You could probably be outbid if you put a maximum very, very close to that point. But still, it helps to have that out there, okay? All right, so let's keep going here. When should you use an escalation clause? Well, basically, when it's a seller's market, when you feel that, hey, there's going to be a bid war going on and I'm afraid that someone's going to outbid me, that's when you want to, employ that. Maybe if you obviously have the wherewithal, obviously you got to show the seller, the listing agent, that you do have the funds for that. Now, obviously it helps and it's expedient, it's required, right? Not officially, but it really, really, really helps you to have that pre-approval letter shows that, hey, you do have more than that. So in a bidding war scenario, you do want to do this. Now let's talk about some pros and cons of an escalation clause, because we're talking here about a low inventory market and how to navigate in this space, right? Because that's the state of affairs in the real estate market right now. There's low inventory. What are some creative ways for you to put in offers? If you're out there with a buyer, if you're out there with a real estate agent looking at homes and whatnot, how do you make your offer stand out? Because at the end of the day, honestly, it's the offer that speaks for itself. A lot of folks out in the public they misconstrue. They think that an agent and their savvy and their way of speaking, or whatever the case is going to force the seller to buy or sell. Listen, at the end of the day, most 99.99% of sellers out there are going to want to do business in a business mindset, right? Business always wins, and they're going to choose the highest and best offer. No one ever says in their clauses, in their remarks, hey, everyone, by 6 p.m., I want the best, most clever, most charismatic real estate agent to give me their best arguments, and regardless of what the price is. No, it always comes down to the money, the terms. Most of the time, it's just the money, the one that will offer the best, highest price. Because again, no matter how many times people put in their love letters and they weep on the phone, they try to convince and they try to make themselves appear more, just enthusiastic, I'm in love with the house, whatever. It's not going to work. And even on top of that, we frown upon even getting love letters. There could be some, fair housing laws broken when you have these love letters out there. So we don't look, we look down upon that. We don't want to have those out there, okay? We want to make sure that we are sticking with the fair housing laws, and we're making sure that there's no discrimination going on, because there is no place for that here, all right? And it's against the law. But so we have here the fact of the matter that it's about the offer, right? So again, what are the pros and cons of making or putting in an escalation clause? The pros are this: the buyer who does this obviously has, peace of mind. Hey, I put in this offer. Now I can relax because I know that no matter who comes in, I will get it going, right? That happened before. I had a buyer who he really, really, really wanted a house, and he told me, hey, you know what? Hey, let's put in an escalation clause. Okay? He's like, I'm not going to lose this house. Everything seemed right, and suddenly we hit a brick wall. What was that brick wall? The seller just said no escalation clause. Why is that? Why would a seller not want the the best thing? Well, I'll get to that just in a minute. Let me tell you about this one. Buyers will win because buyers have that feeling of assurance. Like, you know what? No matter who gets in the way, I'm always going to trounce them because I have the highest bid no matter what. I'll beat everybody by $5,000, $5,000. I'm putting in an offer that they cannot refuse, right? What's another reason why it would be a pro? Escalation clause, show the seller that a buyer is serious about the property. Now, myself as a buyer's agent as well, I'm a listing agent, I'm a buyer's agent. I do both sides. But we call the agent, we talk to them about what's happening in the market, and we build rapport. We try to figure out what the seller specifically wants, and we do all this stuff. And we also convince them why our buyer is able to do this. Now, we do this in an email. We could do this with a phone call. A lot of times, again, we always allow the offer to speak for itself. And so when the offer to purchase a property speaks, the more money you put out there, it's speaking to the seller. Hey, you know what? Look, this person is putting this much down. This person is putting this much in earnest money. This person wants to close quickly. That shows that, there's urgency. There's earnest, right? There's a seriousness about this. This buyer is not going to flex. We spoke about this again in a different video as well. When you are, as a listing agent, a seller, whenever they choose a buyer, it's almost like, they're marrying the offer, right? They're union. They're getting closer. I use the example of jumping out of a plane. You find a partner and you jump out the plane together. So when they are choosing a buyer and a contract to go with, they want to make sure that this one's going to go all the way to the finish, all the way to contract closing on the property. So that escalation clause does show, excuse me, here's my microphone's dropping. It does show that they are serious about buying the home. That's exactly what we want them to know. Hey, we are going to make it to the finish line. Pick us, okay? And obviously, it helps the buyer not overpay for the home. All right, what's the con? Why would somebody not want an escalation? Because it sounds like it makes sense, right? Hey, this person's going to pay above. They have to get it. But this is the problem. There could be drawbacks, right? Buyers and sellers lose their chance of negotiating price because the cap may remove, I highlighted here, the bargaining power for the buyer. Instead, a seller could just reject the escalation clause and ask for the highest offer. So that's what can happen, right? Let's say a property is worth, or they're asking $340,000 for it. Well, I could just say, you know what? In my mind, I could go up to 370, right? 360. But I'm not going to do that because I just put an escalation clause. I'll just say, hey, I offer 342, but I will outbid everybody by $1,000. For the seller, that might be okay because they're going a little bit over. But you know what? What if there was no appraisal gap coverage? I'm sorry, not appraisal gap coverage. There was no escalation clause. Now what? Well, now they would have to try to figure out, hey, well, if I'm writing an offer, I'm thinking, okay, there's a bid war situation here. I know the market the way it is. I know homes right now are going, the sale to list ratio in Aurora right now is 3.4%. So people are, buying homes right now about 3 to 4% above list price. So I'm going to put in an offer that is, large enough to cover what might be other competing offers, but at the same time, nothing too crazy. So I'm going to put in my best offer now, right? So the con of an escalation clause is that you don't get the best and highest offer for the property initially, right? So that might inspire someone, a seller, to reject escalation clauses altogether. Another thing is sellers who accept escalation clauses cannot issue counter offers to other buyers. Their counter offer power is eliminated. So that could be another reason why sellers are not wanting to take escalation clauses. Another one here is with appraisals. This is a big one too. Because again, let's say that someone lists their house for $300,000. The escalation clause is I'll pay $5,000, $10,000 above the highest. So the highest comes in at $320,000, let's say. So now you're going to pay $330,000. Well, the sellers are concerned because they know, right? The listing agent did their homework. They know that homes don't sell here above $310,000, right? So if you accept an offer, $330,000 or whatever the case is here with this escalation clause, $340,000, $350,000, whatever the case is, it's just too much money. And if they're getting this for financing, the lender's not going to pay more than what the appraisal says. So therefore, The buyer wins because they're like, hey, I got the offer accepted. All right. And they have an out. They have a way out, because if it doesn't appraise, then they could just drop out, because that's a contingency. That's a way out. It's just an off ramp that the buyer's chasing. You know what? It didn't appraise. I'm out. All right. And they could leave with their earnest money and everything else, because that was part of the plan. That was a contingency in the contract. So they could just leave because it didn't get appraised. Or they have to come up with the money, or if the seller has to reduce the price, whatever the case is. So that could be another reason why an escalation clause will be looked down upon. But just giving you an idea of that, okay? So when you're navigating a market, you could do an escalation clause. You could do all cash. All cash wins almost every time, right? And all cash could be considered, cash. But obviously, you could have the funds available, right? And you speak to your local realtor about, how to show and prove proof of funds and what that means for you, okay? The listing agent, the seller would mostly, they're the ones that are going to look at that and be convinced by it. And then when it comes time to close, you could just, bring over the cash and close as quickly as the listing, the title work is done, which is very quickly in most cases, okay? So usually it's about 10 to 2 weeks, 10 days to 2 weeks to do a cash offer. Okay, what other things you can do when it's a low inventory market? Well, strategize with your broker, right? It should include strategies for navigating multiple situations, how to make your offer stand out. There's many things you could do to strategize. Let me know as well. I put here initially my contact information in the beginning of the video. Go ahead and search it up. That's my phone number there, my email address. If you want some strategies that I can share with you. If you're looking to buy a home in the Illinois area, obviously Chicagoland area, I'm a licensed broker in the state of Illinois. I can help you with that and show you strategies of how to navigate in this kind of market, okay? Put your best foot forward. Your first offer should be the best offer you can make. Again, that's moving away from the escalation clause. Make sure that your real estate agent is taking note. If the broker who's listing the home says, hey, no escalation clauses, then don't put an escalation clause. Don't annoy the listing agent, okay? Also, if you are navigating in a low inventory market, I would suggest to you, yes, it even says so on this website, stay away from homes that are at the top of your range. So if you're pre-approved for $300,000, stay away from that, right? Don't look at homes of $310,000. Don't get above your budget, right? We saw this in the beginning here as well. Look here in this mark. If your budget, let's look at here, is $2,000. See the green line here in my screen? And we are at the 6.8 rate. You can afford a home of $300,000, right? That's your pre-approval. But you say, you know what? I really like homes that are like 320, 315. You know what? Then let's see here. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna be stretching your dollar. It's gonna be tough for you to go through this, and you're just not wanting to go with that amount, okay? So anyway, this screen here, I showed it to you in the beginning of the video here from the Redfin. This week's July 16th week report, they have this chart to show you basically the buying power. But anyway, what to do in navigating a low inventory market? Hey, go below what the max number is so that you can have leeway, space to navigate, to offer higher, to negotiate, okay? And make it seem, hey, you know what? I got money. Hey, if you only got 20 bucks in your pocket, hey, go to a garage sale, go to town. Hey, I got money here. Let me negotiate with you. Hey, I could do this, I could do that. If you have way more money, then you could go to a bigger store, right? But just play the cards right, go where you feel that you have more leverage and negotiate and ask for things. But in this point, because it's a seller's market and you need to buy a house, go to see homes that are below the top of your limit. Okay, buy with renovations in mind. If you indicate you won't request repairs, this is a big one too. Because again, the offer speaks for itself. It's not just the highest and best. It is most of the time for sure. But another thing that could be important to the seller is if you have a contingency about, let's say, the home inspection. What if you have competing offers? Everyone's saying, I want an inspection. I want an inspection. I want an inspection. And we always recommend, hey, get yourself an inspection. Get yourself in a position where you're not in trouble with repairs and whatnot. Okay, cool, we'll do that. But an offer that says, you know what, I don't need inspections. That's going to stand out. Okay? Everyone let's say the home receives 5 offers, right? Everyone says, you know what, I'll buy this home with inspections and it's not as is. Even though, let's say the listing says nothing about as is, everybody wants to buy a home if it's the right fit for them, right? But what if yours says, you know what, I don't need inspections and I'll take the home as is? That's really going to stand out, right? So just be aware of that. Maybe consider that before you buy a house. Maybe have a contractor look at it with you. Go with you to the appointment when you're seeing the house that one time and determine, hey, how much it'll cost to maybe bring this house up to date, okay? Those turnkey homes are not always going to be, those best ones in this kind of market, okay? A lot of homes, like I said earlier, are not in the inventory because of the interest rate. So whatever low inventory you have to work with, understand the case, and if it's not a perfect home for you, if you're urgently looking to buy a home, then you might have to overlook that. And one more thing here about navigating this inventory is understand, hey, the quicker the turnover, the better it is for you, okay? So be ready to move quickly once you put in an offer and it's accepted, okay? Quick turnover and shorter contract lengths. That always helps out with you. So make sure that the lender you work with can turn over that entire file quickly, underwrite it quickly, have it even pre-underwritten. Have it obviously pre-approved, but pre-underwritten is that they go through the whole process of your file already so that they can quickly order that appraisal, get that work going and get that approved and have the title work done with a good reputable title company and get that closing ASAP, because whatever date your realtor puts in that contract, you want to stick to that, obviously. Otherwise, you'll have yourself as a buyer in jeopardy of losing that contract, that home, because the home took longer to close, okay? So make sure that that's done there, okay? So with all that said, listen, low inventory, but guess what? Prices are still up there. The prices are still continuing to elevate. Now, locally, I'm going to show you some local numbers right now, but the reason why prices haven't fallen because of the low inventory is because of the fact that it's low inventory. There's a lot of demand because of the low inventory. Not a lot of inventory. If it was more inventory, then we would have a more balanced market, but it's not the case right now. All right, so that's the reason why. The typical mortgage right now is stated to be at 26-27. All right, so that just shows you again the way things are going here. And weekly numbers here for now Aurora, Illinois. Here we go now. Going now to some statistics. We already covered some of the news. Let me see if I get this light going again. I apologize for that. There we go. We covered some of the news already. Nationally, locally here in the Aurora area. This week we have 115 detached single-family homes active on the market. A little bit higher than normal. Normally it's about 96 average or so we're above that. New listings in Aurora are 28 homes. Now, as far as homes coming off the market, as far as the single detached homes, 60 homes came off the market this week alone. That is from the 9th of July all the way to the 16th of July. How many homes came off the market in Aurora? 60 homes. Yes, 24 homes closed here this week. 0 expired, 5 got canceled, and 31 homes went under contract this week. Congratulations to those. All right? So that shows you. And of course, the average price in Aurora this week of homes that sold was $355,250 is what the average price of the homes in Aurora is. Now, really close to us is Naperville. Naperville has a total of 231 single-family detached homes for sale right now. That's a huge jump compared to Aurora. A lot of activity going on there. Homes that came back in the market as far as single-family detached is 36 homes that hit the market this week. New listings, 36. How many homes closed in Naperville this week? 34. 1 home expired. The listing expired. 10 got canceled, and 30 of those homes this week in Naperville went under contract. All right. So let me go ahead and show you my results. Now, this past week I did show you this. Now, take a look. This is for the last 3 years. Let me take a look here at 1 year numbers in the monthly. Just monthly data points here in Aurora. The median sales price for Aurora, show you here real quick. There you go. All right, is $307. In May it was $315 and went down to $307. Okay, but year over year, the prices have gone up. Let me go back to the 3 years to kind of show you here. So June 2023, that's where we are. And let's see here in June 2022, the price was at 307, 302. That is 1.5%, as you can see here. All right. So we have that price going. How many homes for sale this past week? All right, so let's take a look. In Aurora, we have 131 homes for sale in the month of June. That's what it was looking at. And this means that 45% of homes, 45% less than last year. That's what we're saying here. So again, June 2023, we had 131. And in June 2022, a year ago, 238. See that number right here? Right there, 238. And we're here way low here, okay? And then the year before that, these are now in the pandemic levels. In June, we had 247. Now, if you want to look to the pre-pandemic years, which is 2017, 2018, 2019, right? Those last few years, in June, back to a normal market, you could say. Let's see here. We had 496. 496, 534, and if I go just a little bit more, I guess less than that, let's see here. In 2017 is 521, right? 521, 496, 534, right? We're around the 500 mark as far as pre-pandemic levels of homes for sale. And now that we're out of the pandemic, but with the interest rates and everything there, 131, it's extremely low. Let me go here to the month supply here for Aurora. All right, we are 0.9. Now, thankfully, we increased from last month, right? Our inventory increased ever so slightly, 0.6 to 0.9, but that's still very below. See here, 6 months is a balanced market. We're way below those levels. So, and even so, we're 18% less than even last year. So as you can see, that number is where it is, okay? Now let's kind of compare that to other areas, right? I want to compare it to Naperville because that's a bigger market compared to Aurora. So take a look at Naperville's numbers. They are at a 1.3 month supply, so they are also low in inventory. And homes for sale, they are at 206 for June. They are also down 38% compared to last year, okay? And again, the home prices, the median, which is the more conservative number for Naperville, is 583, 500, and their prices have increased 2%, almost 3% in Naperville. Okay, now let me add another big hitter here, Chicagoland. Put in Chicago, city of Chicago, and let's get those numbers going. As it's crunching in the numbers now, we're gonna see those results. All right, there it is. Prices is 355, and they're down 3% here for the compared to last year in Chicago. Let's look at month supply inventory once again. In Chicago, it's the inventory supply is in better conditions than it is in the suburbs, but still 2.9, almost 3 months. It's still considered to be a seller's market out there as well. And obviously, when the seller's market is going on, you see the prices, the ratio, high compared to the list price. The list price is always going above. The closing price is above the list price. So that's what we see here in the seller's market. And obviously, we do see, those bid wars happening in those. Okay, let's take a look here. What else I want to say? Shows per listing. That's another important number I like to look at to show what the demand is looking like in Aurora in the month of June. We had 18. Almost 19 showings per listing. 19 showings per listing in the month of June. A month before that, it's about 20. So it really hasn't dropped that much. However, we do see a drop around this time. Now, look, last year in June, we were already down here. So this year, we do have more, as far as Aurora goes, more demand than we had a year ago around this time. See, we're here, 19 showings per listing. And last year in June, we had just about 12. So this year we do have more demand compared to last year. Okay, so that also goes for Naperville at 15, and Chicago does have 6 shows per listing, which is a very low number. So we do see more demand here in the suburbs. So more demand in the suburbs, less inventory in the suburbs, a little bit more inventory in the city, but less demand in the city. That's what I see here in these results. All right, really quick market time. This also shows me how hot the market is, right? How long do homes sit on the open market before they are under contract? In Aurora, we only have 17 days on the market average. average. Now let me look at the median number. The median again is a more conservative number. We eliminate the anomalies, those very high numbers and very low numbers. Right now we have a more conservative number. Now it's 6 days. 6 days that homes stay on the market. Less than a week. Naperville, we see homes only last about a week in the market and then they're gone. In Chicago, we see homes in 13. It hasn't changed from a year ago. In Chicago, if you see the orange line here, 13%. And back to, not 13%, 13 days in the market. And in June last year, exact same number, okay? But as far as Aurora, we have 20% longer time. And in Naperville, 16% longer compared to last year, okay? So that's basically in a nutshell all of the numbers that we got going on here for the area. So basically, again, in a nutshell, hey, things haven't changed that much in the real estate market here. There's still a lot of demand here in the local area, here in the Chicago suburbs. Even though in Chicago itself, Chicago proper, right, there's 3 months inventory, but there's only 6 shows per listing. Here in the suburbs, we have not even 1 month supply, which shows a very low inventory, but we do have a lot of interest, right? We have about 19 homes, 19 shows per listing, I should say, rather. So, and the prices again are showing that in Aurora, here we have 3.4% above list price. So again, we do see those bid wars. So hopefully this video here was very instructive to you, to show you that, yeah, we are very much so, you know, in the seller's market. I share with you some strategies. Hopefully those you found helpful in this weekly news report. Hopefully next week we'll get in more detail about many other things that happen. Whatever happens this next upcoming week when it comes to inflation, any big news in the world, in the market, anything new that we see out here. If you have any questions, I would love to answer them for you. Reach out to me here, leave a comment below, or reach out to me in the the things that we saw here in the beginning of the video. The graphic that had my information for you to reach me, either by phone call or email, social media. And yeah, I would love to help you out. If you want more content like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit a like, leave a comment below if you are interested in any questions for me to answer for you. And with that said, I will see you then on the next video. Take care of yourself.